Okay. Okay, welcome Jaya and your class. I'm just going to officially open our meeting and we respect the Ghana, Buganji and people's spiritual relationship with their country, and we acknowledge Australia's Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people as the custodians and first scientists, makers and innovators of our country. And we welcome you all. It is a rushed lesson today, but more importantly, I think if we overview a few things that will help students to prepare in planning their proposals for the Student Summit. We've already had a number of students join us, I think, from your school who were fantastic and their ideas were outstanding. So we're really excited. So thank you for joining us again. Okay, we are preparing for a, I'm just trying to get through this PowerPoint. It's a little bit tricky with the, some of the tools aren't working. So the 22 Summit Empathy in Action in 22, we will be looking at students' proposals, and we will be looking at potentially the sponsorship of projects that meet the requirements and the assessment standards for those requirements, I suppose, are at the very end of this PowerPoint. It's almost like the criteria which will enable them to become qualified to become part of this summit. It's important that we understand that some of the projects may not make it to that point, but we will, however, have those projects very importantly with us, and they can be potentially used maybe on our website as well to acknowledge. Paramita, if you're there, please, could you just, I've got some issues moving through this PowerPoint. My apologies for a second.
No issues, no issues. You can go ahead.
Thank you.
Sure.
No,
I'm going to share again, if you can. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just not, my laptop's not working with the, thank you. And those of you that have arrived while we're just starting this session, I can see a few names. Rajeshri, welcome. It's good to see you back. It must be very early in Kampala in Uganda. It's lovely to see you there. And Dakshita, I hope I'm saying these, pronouncing these names appropriately. My apologies. But yeah, it's nice to see you have arrived. So we have looked at some ideas. I'm going to try and navigate this. It's not really working already. In the second, this is just a link about a very similar community-based project. You'll be able to access it. When we grab the PowerPoint and have a look. It's a fantastic opportunity for you and students to all see of a gentleman in Kolkata who actually set up computers in the wall of many communities to enable young people to learn using the internet and to learn how to use the internet. It was a community-based project and very successful from what we can gather. It was done a long time ago. But it is a really good way to show a foundation in some sense and establish a foundation of knowledge of what a community-based project is. If we just move on. So this whole presentation is literally set up for you to develop initial plans and work out your ways, step-by-step processes in which you can prepare. All right, step one. So this first step is to look at using tools, and we're talking of brainstorming, very simplistic tools, but what we're asking is evidence of that. And the reason being is that we need to see evidence of collaboration of the team. We're looking at how your team documents the ideas and progress and process importantly. And I think these are lifelong skills in a sense that they're really good ways to initiate ideas and to work with teams to share ideas. So simple brainstorm tools are definitely ways around planning. So we've got a few of these. That's not a brainstorm tool, sorry. So here we have a brainstorm tool. Yeah, I'm sorry, my mouse is not working properly. And I suppose these are just like very simple diagrams, and I'm sure all students are familiar with them. We don't want this process to be unfamiliar and something that's confronting. We want them to feel comfortable. So, you know, your basic 5W inquiry, what, where, when, why, who, and how, or whatever. They are essentially good questions to start thinking about the planning process, the first step of brainstorming. If we're moving forward, Paramita, could you please do that?
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. For some reason, it's not working for me.
Even your voice is cracking a bit.
I don't know why it's doing this.
Now it's clear. Now it's clear.
Okay. All right. So basically we're looking at lots of different scaffolds again here in this planning process to look at how to develop ideas, because if we see that this has been successful and it's quite consolidated, it then does warrant sponsorship. So simple things like journal writing, brainstorming, and self-evaluation tools such as SWOT, we call it a SWOT, listing things, journaling are really good scaffolds. We've also looked at SMART goals, and I suppose if we're looking at the far left column, we need to look at understanding a SMART goal is specific, it is measurable, attainable. I'm sure you understand that scaffold. The column in the middle literally unpacks what to be specific, who is involved. So you might need to list what do you want to accomplish, precise timeframes if we're moving down the list, very important time-bound goals, what's your target date and deadlines that you've listed. So essentially these are really important ways to journal, life skills again. The other thing is to think about online hybrid meeting tools, like a lot of people, like we are ourselves now, working together online, and we are communicating online. We're using technology to make connection. And this is a really, it's not new for a lot of our students at this point and our teachers. So it's essential that all of our students are very au fait with the etiquettes, the netiquettes, and using technology to their advantage. So evidence of that is innovative ways of using technology to plan proposal writing and get teams together are really, even just simply recording meetings and showing us evidence of that's very valuable. Okay, so step 2, we're just moving forward, is preparing your team. And as I mentioned, the codes of conduct within that team. So some students might be a little bit familiar with those kinds of terms, but they're lifelong goals, lifelong learning. Codes of conduct, we understand to be the modus of operandum, how we all work as teams, what we expect, how we trust each other, how we assume responsibilities, and how we, you know, in certain situations such as discussions, how the etiquette is open to everybody and everybody understands it. So they're really important steps in teamwork. So yeah, they're rules and standards that the whole team understands, and they are very important, especially online. All right, the proposal for the Student Summit. So writing this proposal, I'm really whizzing through this, we're looking at you recording very important information for us. So your teams will need to have the name of the organisation, your physical address, your postal address, phone numbers that the teachers also agree that, you know, this is a highly confidential and very well monitored website. We maintain confidentiality, so these things are there for children's safety. they're important that we actually have access to them because we need to maybe at times contact students. You need to list your manager, the team members and their roles. This is all there for you in the PowerPoint to access to complete. And when you're writing proposals, you need to have some very serious considerations of ethical and cultural consideration. But before we go to that, I'll just quick up because of my mouse, it's flicked right straight forward there. Sorry, my apologies. We're looking at the community project. If you could synthesize it into one sentence or an abstract or a summary by simply using that, again, that 5W inquiry question. What is involved? Where is it happening? When, why, and who is involved as well? So there's not 5 W's there, there's only 4. So, so think about those things. Yeah, those things are very important to help also the students start to clarify their ideas and become a little bit more organized. So you might want to look at maybe also sharing with the business managers and the sponsors that are supporting this project, where on earth is your project taking place? So a map, the city, maybe some demographic information, some research, some information about the cultures and maybe the genders in which you're appealing to in your project. And as I rushed forward before, I think about a clear reference system of culture, established systems of culture, and how you're attending in your project to those sometimes they're very implicit, sometimes very explicit cultural systems, and also religious considerations that we must always make when we're conducting research and when we're also planning projects for communities. And the sensitivity of those is very important. So how in your proposal you're going to tell us how this will be catered for. Okay, risk management, really important. So as a group, when you're collaborating and your teams, you must identify potential problems that you may encounter, maybe the safety, physical safety, psychological safety of yourself, and also maybe the people that you are operating within and around. You make sure all your group members are giving permission for, say, for example, images being taken, if that's going to become public profile information. So very simple things. Of course, most importantly is personal safety of the students, and being very mindful of that, because there are, there are situations where sometimes, hopefully not, students will need to think very carefully about their safety, and also having that a permission from the public if you're dealing with the public as well. And parents are fantastic support here to make sure the safe students, as well as, of course, our very important teachers who are helping facilitate all of this, which is brilliant. Sorry about this. All right, so a brief explanation of how your group has come to recognise the need for a certain community project needs to be put in your proposal. So it's a little bit like the background of why your group is deciding to do this. You might be deciding to teach elderly people how to operate a certain kind of technology at the moment. And you might have discovered that possibly the preliminary research that you've conducted, so the research before all of this, that it is a very necessary project for a community. So it might be based by your observation as students, or it might be your own first-hand experience where you might see elderly people such as your grandparents who need a lot of using technology, and your group agrees that that could be a beneficial community-based project. It might be through your school programs as well, or other sources. So we need to know the context, the background of why you've actually defined your project and how you've defined it. Timelines are really important. It's important that you think about definite things you want to achieve within those timelines. That's a really good little scaffold that you can use as well. It's also thinking about the goals, objectives, how you're going to measure them being successful, how have you achieved them as, or seen them as being met, is also important. Monitoring your progress, evaluating it, as we said before, using journals, even recording Zoom lessons you might have in a certain period of time, how you propose to make sure that everybody's on the same page. If someone's, you know, not working and collaborating or pulling weight, how the group will evaluate that and how they'll address it are really important. Excuse me. This is just an example of, say, for example, a desired initiative. So a desired idea or outcome of a community-based project. So it's an example. So providing hygiene and soap for students or schools to reduce certain diseases. And then we look at, well, how do we look at the performance of that being achieved, or how are we going to measure that this is actually happening as a beneficial program? So that might be done based on research, survey. It might be based on collating data or reports from local doctors. It might be looking at other type of data sources, and just performance indicators in some sense might be simple ones, but they are noted in your proposal. They are understood as being an important way of gathering whether this project is meeting its performance indicators. And how you're going to use certain maybe quantitative or qualitative data to ascertain that and work that out. How often you might collect the data might be a consideration you'd like to write in your proposal. You might almost like to think about how you're going to use that information to influence future, very importantly, future ongoing sustainability of your project. Their key words in this whole proposal is how you sustain this. It's not a 5-minute wonder. It actually is something that could potentially be very viable and supportive of communities, and it will be sustained. So this is exactly what we've just gone through, and it's there for students to use. It's a very deep way of planning, and this is a very important skill for students when they're doing community-based projects. So what resources will your project use or require? Will it be experts? Very important: parental support, teacher support, certain raw materials, manpower. What's your time frame, and potentially also maybe the budget that you've identified. How you're going to promote this? It's potentially, if it's going to be sustainable, you need to think that, oh wow, you know, like we're actually getting ahead. This proposal is really well organized because we've also considered the marketing and the promotion of what we're doing, and that may inherently in some way sustain the whole project. So it might be through school community newsletters or Facebook or, you know, social media and blogs, potentially your school community connecting with other networks and other educational communities. Okay. If there are potential risks, you need to really think about them. This is a little bit deeper. I think you need to think about your online safety. I think that's in Australia, we have a real focus in a lot of our online learning on safety, safety and confidentiality, sustaining that. Because if you're working with certain people in your project, you know, they may reveal to your group certain sensitivities and confidentiality that you need to talk to your teachers about that, how you're going to manage that. Maybe some of the cultural and ethical safeties you're unsure about. So we need to know these students are being very mindful of these important risks that they may encounter. Budget. Is it going to be crowdfunding? How are you going to budget? You know, how you identified certain objects or things or resources you require and how you're going to access them. there's a lot more probably detailed budget pro formas that we could use, but I think creativity about budget is important here too. So that's part of the assessment criteria. So to meet the second round, you have to be able to pitch your whole project, and using the scaffolds that we've given you, we're very sure that they'll help you address and meet the criteria that you're about to see soon anyway. So are you going to do it with a PowerPoint? Are you going to pitch it as a recorded video? Is it going to be a podcast? Is it going to be a live Zoom presentation? So your group really needs to think, we've worked so hard to do all of this, and we need to think very carefully how best we can pitch it. And that's also a really important life skill, is, you know, we call it pushing the wheelbarrow. You're working hard to present your ideas in a creative and innovative way. Okay, so dates for diaries. So the general overview that we look at, and the rubrics are on the bottom of the PowerPoint, as I've mentioned, is how you plan, how you record, how you investigate. Preliminary research is part of that, how you collaborate, how you take action, and how you self-evaluate. So, you know, a lot of these things that students are engaging in when you do these projects are 21st century skills. A lot of this stuff is very valuable for lifelong learning. And so the date of submission for the proposal will be the 23rd. And I don't know if anyone else has any more to say or any questions they have.
Is it changed? Like, I think it was 19th December and 6th of January. Is it changed? The dates have changed now.
This has, unless someone's changed this is something that I'm not aware of. Has that been changed? Paramedic, can you clarify that, please? Sorry.
Yes, Chair. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
The dates have been changed. The reason is, in Southern Hemisphere, the students are all on holidays right now. And that is the main reason we had to make some changes. Even now, although the final summit, when students are going to be invited to share their proposal with the global students, we are, although we have put 6th of February, we might have to change the date as well, because some of the schools around the globe, they're on holidays, Jaya, and we would like to. Yes.
We do have a problem if we have it in March, because, you know, 3 students are in CBSE boards. Like, you know, they will be having their exams, interim exam in the month of March.
Definitely,
so,
we will take that into consideration.
Problem in March. Yeah.
No, we are not going to March. We will keep it in February. No, we do not have any intention to change. And particularly those who have enrolled, you know, we will have to keep that in mind, because yes. So that is the main reason why we had to make changes. Our students in Australia are not going back to school, not until 27th, I think, 27th of January. So that is and a big issue here. Sorry, sorry, Liz, you can, if you don't have any queries, you can go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering, I can see there are a couple of students here. If they have any questions, please do not hesitate. It would be great to hear your voice and say hello. Yes, someone has their hand up. Hello, I can't see who that is.
Hello.
Gurman, can you please switch on your camera, Gurman?
Yeah, sure. Hello, this is Gurman.
We can't see you.
Okay, just a second. Am I visible now, ma'am?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hi.
Hi. Actually,
Hello.
I had to ask if you had a proposal of this as a whole, like you have shown that what we have to do, but it's in parts. So do you have an example or something which we have to.
An example, yeah. Good question, Gurman. We do. We have examples of the whole idea and concept. One of them was at the very beginning of the presentation of a community-based project. And if you go onto that YouTube link, you'll see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
No, can I just interrupt? Gurman, did you mean the written, an example of the written proposal? Did you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, my
We are
apologies.
afraid. That's okay. We are afraid we
Yeah.
don't have any example of the written proposals. We have a few examples on our website. You can see that what sort of community activities kids from around the globe are doing right now. And we will be adding a few more, but an example of a written proposal, I'm afraid we do not really have that. Sorry, Liz, over to you.
Is this thing written, thing should be in a presentation form or in a PDF form?
Well, it should be a written document, what Ms. Bowden is taking you through. It should be a written document where you're
a Word document.
Yes, absolutely. And when it comes to the presentation, only those who are selected, not everyone will be invited to share at the summit. Only those who are really, they qualify, and judges will select some of the proposals that can be presented at the summit. And that will be presentation that can be recorded, or some students may like to do it live. And if someone's coming from the UK or United States, their time may be different, and it may be middle of the night. So they might choose, even your students also can choose to do a recorded. Yeah. And I'm sure Liz is going to explain that as well. Sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah. One more query is the prototypes are acceptable, or is it you need the project which is actually running?
It is prototype is fine, because it doesn't have to be, because this is the proposal. This is what they intend to do. Although we already have some students, they're right in the middle of their project. They're also entering this competition and this summit, but prototypes will be fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
If you have any other question, as Liz said, you can ask now. Thank you.
That's it from my side, students. Any queries you can ask? I don't think so. They have any queries. All three projects.
Going back to the proposal, as Liz said, it shouldn't exceed 1,500 words. And also, however, lots can be said, using images or infographics, graphs, as Liz was talking about, quantitative and qualitative, data, what students are gathering, their research, these sort of things they can, but not to exceed 1,500, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Liz, over to you.
I think, thank you. Can you hear me? I wasn't sure if you could hear me. Yeah, thank you. So good question, Gorman. And I think it's really relevant that you have some sort of guidance to prepare this proposal. However, I think a lot of the scaffolding that we've gone through today, if you follow that scaffolding in your planning, your recording, your evaluation, you're collaborating with your team, I don't think there's any way that you need someone's proposal. However, what we can try and do, if it is a problem and you are struggling and you need to get hold of us, and we are more than happy to help support you if that's required. And we would be happy to do that. Okay, so don't think you're being dumped with a whole bunch of scaffolds and I've got to fill all the spaces out. Essentially, we'll help you if you do need that and you do require that extra support. I'd be more than happy to help. Okay. All right. So basically, if we look at the end, I don't know where those have gone, but the assessment, not the assessment, the guidance of criteria is not on the last slide. But what we can do is we can share that probably in an email in the next few days. And I think at this point, we don't have anything else. We've actually whizzed through this really quickly. If we go to, you know, thinking about, as I said to Gorman, a lot of this is all there for you to literally, their subtitles, subheadings for you to think about filling out. So join the dots, fill the spaces, and do best you can. And if you have questions, we are obviously there with support for you anytime. And as Ms. Roy has said, how you choose to do it, your proposal, might also be in some ways a critical part of whether you meet this final group that are considered for support and sponsorship by business companies. So it's a really exciting opportunity for everybody to learn some new skills about working together with groups. Initially, I did say to Paramita and Rajeshri, oh, what about students that want to work on their own? And they're going, no, this is important. They have to learn to collaborate. So guys, you need to all work. And I think it's really important. I think a lot of humanity needs to learn to cooperate and collaborate at the moment. So this is a good way to start to learn. And these are skills that if you're working with teams in the workplace, in your careers, they're really good things to draw upon. And I'm sure your teachers have probably taught you a lot of these anyway. So now, if that's the case, well, let's see you use them. Okay. Rajeshri, if you're there, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Thank you, Liz, and welcome everybody on the platform. Good morning. And this is Rajeshri here. Not exactly. I think you are doing it perfectly fine, and Ms. Roy is also perfectly clarifying all the doubts. So I don't have anything to pitch in here at the moment. Thank you.
I have
Thank you
something
very
to
much.
add, Liz, if I may. I have something to add. As Liz just mentioned about be critical about your proposal. It is very, very important that you not only write about your expectations, but also think about where can things go wrong. You know, that reflects how critically you are looking at your project. This is a very, very important skill, and our judges would like to see that you are not only talking about the benefits of the project, but the possible problems you may encounter while you're planning your project. So keep that also in mind. And the students, do you have any question? Please ask now if you have any questions, or you can always send us your question later on. I'm very mindful that you have to go to for your exams, and we wish you all the best. If you have questions, this is your time to ask. Over to you, Liz.
I don't think, the questions will start coming, the confusions will start coming once they start making the proposals. Maybe I'll make you on that. As of now, it's clear for us. I hope the students are clear. So I'll be able to solve as much as query as possible. Like if I get stuck, we'll call you, surely.
Thank you. That's fantastic.
You so much.
I think at this point, I think that's all we can offer at this stage. And yeah, it's so good to see that so many people are interested to join us. And it's not essentially just for learning, it's also to contribute back to society, which I think is a wonderful, a lifelong skill and a lifelong quality. It's endearing.